From Wemby's weak frame that's bound to cause him injury problems to the San Antonio Spurs being home to 0 star players, these are the reasons why Victor Wembanyama won't fix the Spurs' issues. Let's kick this off by addressing the elephant in the room. Is Victor strong enough for the NBA? Now, I don't mean to rain on your parade or anything, Spurs fans, but let's be real for a sec. The NBA's for the big boys who can withstand a world of pain. And for that, you need to be bulked up, especially if you play at center like the Frenchman. But Wembanyama's the exact opposite of that. He has a tall, slender build, and if you've watched the NBA, then you'd know that such players get destroyed in the post. Sure, Victor's had a lot of success in France, but they don't have anyone nearly as big and powerful as Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, and the man himself, LeBron James. Just one elbow to the chest from one of these guys can put the athlete out of action for a long time. So there's no doubt that Wemby's not strong enough for what's headed his way. I mean, look at what happened to the Oklahoma City Thunder's Chet Holmgren. He has the same build as Victor and was hyped up like crazy as well, but he got injured during the crossover Pro-Am while guarding LeBron, keeping him out for the entire 2023 season. And there's a really good chance Wemby might suffer the same fate. Even though his size and build are one of the reasons he's taken the NBA world by storm, history shows us that this can actually be a double-edged sword. Despite the NBA being known for having some of the tallest athletes you'll see, there haven't been many giants, and the ones that made it rarely impacted the league. After all, throughout the 76-year history of the NBA, there have only been 26 players who were 7'3" or taller, and only 3 of them are current players. While size is obviously important in basketball, there comes a point when a player is simply too tall, and it seems that Victor falls under this category. According to the YouTuber Jimmy High Roller, the point at which an NBA athlete has too much height is around the 6'11" mark. Most players above that height are bound to have serious, if not career-ending injuries, as well as health issues. So there are 2 possibilities, and Spurs fans aren't gonna like either of them. First, he could either get injured early in the 2024 season, leaving San Antonio high and dry. Or if he doesn't suffer a setback straight away, he might deal with a bunch of them throughout his career. And that means he won't be able to play for the Spurs for too long. If you don't believe me, then just look at how the careers of players like Yao Ming, Gheorghe Muresan, and Rick Smits panned out. Even then, Victor has a bunch of weaknesses that won't allow the Spurs to succeed at the highest level. I mean, just look at his efficiency. Since October 2022, everyone's been going crazy over the kid's skill set, as he can score from anywhere on the court. Though as usual, social media only showed the fans his highlights while ignoring his lows. Yeah, he can make some shots from downtown every now and then. But did you guys know that following his 2023 campaign with the Metropolitans 92, Victor only shoots 29% from deep for his career? And get this, the 2022 and 2023 season saw him put up his worst numbers from beyond the arc. Yikes. Also, while he's leading the Mets from the front in the 2023 playoffs, his three-point shooting's been just as bad. The story's the same for Wembanyama's field goal percentage, as he's never been able to convert on at least 50% of his shots for an entire season. That might be acceptable for guards and small forwards, but it isn't for centers. After all, you shouldn't be missing that much when you're so tall and facing weak competition. And that brings me to his next issue that'll cause problems for San Antonio, his poor shot selection. Okay, Wemby, you have a nice-looking jumper. We get it. But that doesn't mean you keep relying on it when you can easily take better shots from inside the arc. When you're that tall, you need to take advantage of your height and keep trying your luck inside. Plus, I'm pretty sure he drained those shots more often than not. What's more, while Victor might have trouble doing this against teams like the Bucks, Sixers, Lakers, and Nuggets, he'll definitely be able to score a ton of points inside the paint against most other teams, especially those who go for small ball lineups. But the Frenchman's too focused on showcasing his three-point shooting and his midi. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that he needs to tone it down, though I don't think that'll be happening anytime soon. And besides his poor shot selection, the Spurs are also going to have to deal with his lack of aggressiveness. Considering how crazy everyone's been going over Wembanyama since 2022, you'd think he's averaging a 30-point triple-double. But when you look at his stats, you'll see that they're not anything too special. Victor finally got meaningful minutes in the 2023 season, and while his numbers are impressive, they're not as great as they could be. He only averaged 21.6 points per game, along with 10.4 rebounds. Here's the thing, though. The Frenchman could have easily put up 26 and 15 if he was more aggressive. I mean, if you're the tallest guy on the court, you should be getting almost all of the rebounds, no? So it makes zero sense to me that he barely grabbed 10 per contest in the 2023 season, and it's pretty likely that he's going to carry this passiveness into the NBA. On a team like the Spurs, who already lack firepower, Wemby's inability to go at his opponents is not a good sign, at least not if they want to be a top team in their 2024 campaign. But with that being said, let's talk about how there's a chance Victor might take the Spurs to the next level. After the franchise drafts the Frenchman, they're going to have a starting lineup that consists of Trey Jones, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, and Victor. On paper, that lineup looks insane, especially because of Victor's elite shot blocking. Plus, the rest of the guys will have a lot of pressure lifted off their shoulders since they'll have an elite rim protector. Not to mention, Keldon and Devin have been playing some of the best basketball of their careers since the 2023 season, and Sohan's on his way to becoming a great power forward. To top it all off, the man who's going to be coaching these guys is a mastermind who needs no introduction, the man himself, Greg Popovich. We saw how well Tim Duncan and David Robinson developed under his guidance, and there's a good chance the same thing can happen with Victor. What's more, even though Wembanyama has some weaknesses that can hold the Spurs back, there's no doubt in my mind that Coach Pop's going to get him to work on those and become a better player. But at the same time, no matter what, there's no denying that the Spurs aren't ready to compete with the best teams even with the addition of Victor. After all, they have zero star power. Once the Frenchman gets drafted by San Antonio, he'll be their biggest star. Yeah, a guy who has no experience in the NBA. Other than him, the team's full of players who aren't that well known. And that's for a reason. Sure, Johnson and Vassell are constantly improving, but they're not even all-stars. The rest of the squad's also full of athletes who are yet to make their mark on the league. So while the Spurs are landing a generational talent, not much will change for the franchise just yet. Even if they play insanely well, none of them are experienced enough to get the job done against the top dogs of the NBA. Right now, the league's insanely competitive, especially the Western Conference. You have the Steph Curry-led Golden State Warriors, the LeBron-led Los Angeles Lakers, and the Nikola Jokic-led Denver Nuggets. Not only do those teams have a lot of talent, but they have so much experience that they can rely on to get through the toughest of in-game situations. Plus, there are so many teams in the West that are almost guaranteed playoff spots next season. Besides the ones I already talked about, teams like the Sacramento Kings, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Phoenix Suns are also way better placed for a playoff push than San Antonio. So the Spurs don't fit into the equation at all. The only way they can is if they get their hands on a star player with a ton of experience. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. So from the San Antonio Spurs being home to zero star players to Wemby's weak frame that's bound to cause him injury problems, those were the reasons why Victor Wembanyama won't fix the Spurs' issues.